All right, my name is Mike Batten. I work for Western States Metal Roofing, and today we are going to work on drip edge with J-pocket.
This is the Metal Roofing Learning Channel, brought to you by Western States Metal Roofing, where you can find a variety of colors and finishes, all while saving by buying factory direct. Use of the following video content is subject to the warning, disclaimer of warranties, and limitation of liability as set forth on this screen.
All right, so what we're going to do first is I measured the space I'm working in is 96 1/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my fascia drip right here at 96 1/8 to get started. Marking my 96 1/8. I am using a Sharpie marker just so it's more visible for the camera. Typically, you would use a carpenter's pencil for this project. It's pretty basic to make this cut. Then we'll switch to our greens. And there you go. You got your first cut done on your first piece to get started. All right, so what I'm going to get ready to do right now is I like to pre-drill my holes so I get my fastener schedule. 12-inch on center is typical, so that's what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to mark this and lay this out first. And I usually come about 1 inch in on the end when I do my first hole first. Same thing on this end, I'm going to come in 1 inch on the end. So what I typically will do is I'll mark the piece halfway through here. This coverage is 4 inches, so I'm going to drill the holes 2 inch on center and a foot on interval. I'm going to take my little combination square and hold it at my 2 inches. There you go. Now we're going to take, I usually use about an 1/8 inch drill bit. That way it's still undersized for the fastener, so the fastener is actually going to drill the hole through it. Once you're done with pre-drilling your holes, you're going to want to go back and pull the PVC off it for installation. Okay, and before we put this drip edge on, we're going to just talk a little bit about that. Typically what you would do would either use a chalk line or use a laser level to mark your wall and your substrate. That way you get your lines 100% straight all the way down your run. I have pre-measured this and made this box so it's levels. So we're gonna already marked it at 41.5 inches to drop down from my 10-inch panels. But on a job site, on your conditions, please make sure that you do what's best for your job site conditions. So I made a chalk line here with my helper, Carlos, and we're gonna put this top edge on here, but we're also gonna use a level just to make sure that it's still straight. No more up. Right there. All right, so this segment is going to be about J-pocket receiver trim. This is the shape, this is the size of it, and what this is receiving what is our T-groove panel or our reveal panel. Will typically go into this pocket, making it a picture frame type effect all the way around all the borders, covering all the edges of the panel. So what we're first going to do is we're going to draw the bottom piece where it's the tab connecting to the piece sliding into it. And typically when you do an install, you want the tab to be on the building so you can, if you're having to put caulking or whatever on the end of the trim piece, that you slide the piece over and into it. That way it's easier. So it can actually, when you're on the side of the building, you can hang it by sliding it into the groove and then going next to it and putting your fasteners in it, and it will help you on the job site. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our speed square and mark our 45. So on our 45, I'm using a Sharpie for a big bold line. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this at a tapered angle like this, removing it just slightly away from it so it will not bind up the other piece as it's sliding into it. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our snip and we're gonna cut into it. And then we're gonna take that right there, we're gonna cut that back, and then also we're gonna cut back this at just a slight angle so it does not bind up from the other piece intersecting this direction or going this direction right here. And then also when you get to here, you notice that if you look inside here, there'll be a little bit of a tab left in here. You wanna trim that off. You do not want that to be in there. So what we're gonna do is we'll take our 5-in-1, we stick it in here, and then we pry up and remove that. And we take it and we pull that tab up so we can remove it on the inside. Take our green snips. And there you go. And then you come back and you get your flats. And you'll come back and you'll close that back up. You don't want that little edge in there to snag on there and scratch your paint when you're sliding pieces into it. Then you'll do all this work and your project will look scratched. All right, so before we start installing this J-pocket or receiver trim on the wall itself, what we're gonna do is I make a suggestion also, if you need better drainage off your wall panel, what I would suggest is take a 1/4-inch drill bit and drill through the inside, out the face, every foot or so for a weep hole so you have more drainage off the wall. In this video, I'm not gonna do that here, but it is done all over the place in Arizona. So right now is what you do is you take this and you set it up on your sill, flush it up on the end, make sure you're good. I'll put a starting screw. Come down here, just make sure it's not coming off, and put another one and then finish it up. Try and stay away from the painted edge if you can, so you don't scratch your finished material and have to come back and get it with touch-up paint. And there you have it. So what I'm gonna do on this right here is I'm gonna cut my 41.5-inch stretch out, plus I'm gonna add an inch for a tab to return here. That way it's capped off at the bottom piece on the right-hand side. So let me go and mark a 1-inch tab. And then I'm going to mark my 45. So what we'll do is we'll cut this off here, we'll leave a little piece right here, and we'll leave this tab on the side. This tab right here is going to be folded up and tucked in there, and then we're going to trim off this back piece. And you trim off just a little bit more than a 90-degree angle so the piece clears as it's tabbing into the next section. Cutting and leaving a little tiny tab and cutting a little bit off so it clears the section when it comes up on both sides. Stick your 5-in-1 in there and pry it open. Make sure you trim off the excess so you don't have anything blocking you from getting it and clearing it, so when the pieces slide together, they don't have any issues. So what we want to do is we want to come in here with your tongs and close this up just so it's parallel so it doesn't scratch the paint up as you're sliding pieces through it. So we'll take, and what we're going to do is we're going to bend this tab inward. So it's in there. It looks like that. And then we're going to take our tin hammer. This is our tin hammer right here. We're going to take it, make sure our corners are nice and tight. That way nothing gets bound up in it when you're sliding them together. After you're all done, then you need to remove the PVC. All right, so we're at the point where we're getting ready to install now. So we peeled the PVC off. I made sure everything looks good and everything looks like a finished product that I'd be happy with. And so what we're going to do is we're going to slide this into there. We're going to take this tab and push it and work it in between the pieces. We're going to take the piece, before we put any screws in it, we're going to take a rubber mallet, make sure that all the joints are nice and tight. Once everything's nice and tight, you can take your level and you re-level this up right here. Make sure that everything's nice and tight, all your joints are tight, and your finished products, and then we fasten it together. All right, so what we're going to do in this section, we're going to take the J-pocket receiver and we're going to notch it 1.5 inches back so it can go inside the other receiver on a long run of panels on any project. First we're going to do is we're going to mark it about 1.5 inches back. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut a tiny bit off of here, and then we're going to V-notch it on all corners so that all corners can slide inside the other piece, like that. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the top notch of the J-pocket, about 1/8 of an inch down, and then cut at a little slight angle so the piece won't bind up connecting to the other piece. Once you remove all these little tabs off the inside, you need to take your small tool, take this, and bend the tabs inward just a slight bit so they don't get bound up when intersecting each other. Also, don't forget to take your 5-in-1, stick it inside, pry it open, and cut that piece off. There you go. Cut that little tab off the inside. Go back and squeeze it. And you take your tongs and just tweak it just a little bit inside. That way it won't block it from going inside the other piece. Then you're going to go on the other side, and you're going to make sure that that hem has also been opened up so the other piece can slide in there and reconnect. And typically what you're going to do, slide them on in there. Make sure your tabs are nice and tight. Rubber hammer on the end. And there you go. There's your seam.
You can find step-by-step installation videos and homeowner guides on our channel. And don't forget to show your support by hitting the like button and subscribe. Want to learn more? Check out these videos.